Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and Mirz Hashem today we will be learning Daf Samach Hey Amid Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. Our learning should be as chus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael and Asuna Batzara B'Shivya Ha'im Dem Bein B'Yom Bein B'Yabasha Hamakem Yirachem Aleihem V'Yitziam Yitzara L'Rvacha Me'afelu La'Ora Mishibur L'Geula Hashta B'Galo V'Zman Kariv V'Neimar Amen. Our learning should be as chus for Refuah Shalema from Shemer Ben Esther Fradel, for Tzvi Ben Leah Miriam, for Daniel Ben Naomi. Our learning should also be a schus for Yisrael Ben Rachel, Yonasan Ben Michal, and Yoel Ben Michal. The Rebbeinu Shalom should watch over them and protect them together with all of our brothers and sisters that find themselves in harm's way. B'chal Makom Shehem. Okay, so we pick up today on Samach Hey Amud Aleph, 2 lines off the bottom of the Shulchan Aruch, near the end of the line, in the words of the Ramah. So here in Siman Reish Peches, we're learning about the halachas of fasting on Shabbos and the halachas of a tainas chaloim on Shabbos. In the very opening of the Siman in Sif Aleph, the Mechaber told us you're not allowed to fast on Shabbos. You're not even allowed to have a partial day fast. In the words of the Mechaber, you're not allowed to fast past Chatzos, past midday. We learned in the Mishnah Berurah, this is why it's so critical that the shuls construct their davening and their schedule so that people should be able to get home and make Kiddush before Chatzos. The Mishnah Berurah also told us that when the Mechaber says you're not allowed to fast until past Chatzos, that's if you're not doing it l'shem tainis. It's just you had a long drawn-out morning and a long drawn-out davening and then a chavrusa, and now you're not making Kiddush, you're not eating until after Chatzos. That's usher, because you're not allowed to fast past Chatzos on Shabbos. But if you're fasting l'shem tainis, if you're fasting in order to fast, you're refraining from eating so that it should be a tainis, that you're not allowed to do even for an hour. And you're not allowed to do that at any point in the morning. So you wake up in the morning and you decide, I'm not going to eat until 10 o'clock. It's way before Chatzos. But if you decide, I'm not eating until 10 o'clock because I'm refraining from eating l'shem tainis, that you're not allowed to do, even though you're going to end up eating before Chatzos. And that halacha is going to come back to us today. We're going to be speaking about that as well. Then, in the beginning of Sif Beis, the Mechaber told us an interesting halacha. What if you have somebody who eating is actually bad for him? So maybe you have somebody who suffers from a lot of gastrointestinal issues, and when he eats, he mamish suffers from eating. So in that case, the Mechaber said, if somebody eats mazik loy ha'achila, if eating harms him, then the Mechaber said, oz oinig hu shaloi lechol. So then oinig, pleasure, for him, equals not eating. For him, eating is not oinig, eating is mazikloi. It actually harms him. So for him to not eat is what the oinig is, and in that case he should not eat. And the Mishnah Berurah said not only that, but it could be that for such a person it would mamish be aser, karov le'iser, were the words of the Mishnah Berurah said. It comes close to being a prohibition for this fellow to eat on Shabbos because he's suffering on Shabbos. Now, against that backdrop, let's take a look at the words of the Ramah here. 2 lines off the bottom end of the line says the Ramah Hago. V'chein, similarly, mi sheyesh lo oineg im yivke. If somebody gets pleasure out of crying, a good cry is going to give him oineg. It's going to give him pleasure. Why does that give pleasure? Explains the Ramah. Kedei sheyele chatzar mi liboy. Somebody is carrying around a lot of tsar, he's carrying around a lot of emotion, a lot of pain, and, people say, cry it out. If he sits down and he has a good cry, that actually would be an einig for him. Says the Ramah, mutter livkais b'Shabbos. Such a person would be allowed to cry on Shabbos. Now, again, the basic understanding of this is similar to the beginning of Sif Beis. You're not allowed to fast on Shabbos, but if eating harms you, so that not eating, fasting, is an oinig for you, then you're allowed to fast. So too, crying is completely inappropriate for Shabbos. But if you have somebody for whom crying is actually going to be an oinig, then the crying is mutter on Shabbos. Now, the Mishnah Berurah gives a very important qualification to this halacha. Let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is cutting daled 2 lines off the bottom of the Mishnah Berurah. Hatzar mi libay. In the words of the Ramah, For this person, it's an einig to cry because he gets the tsar out of himself. Okay? Kasavataz, the Taz writes, Hainu dafka imachmas roiv deveikusai ba'kadosh baruch hu, zolkim ein of demois. We're not talking over here about somebody who needs to have a good cry because his wife cracked up the car on Erev Shabbos and he's suffering over his beautiful Rivian or whatever is hot nowadays, his beautiful Tesla Model Y. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about over here is somebody who's Azai Yerei Shamayim and Machbas Roiv Dveikusai B'Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because of the close connection that he feels with the Rebbeinu Shalom, this person is having a good cry for a Dvaruchni. Zol Givein of Demois. He cries. And the Mishnah Berurah gives us an example. Shekein Matzinu B'Rebbe Akiva B'Zayar Chadosh. The Zayar brings down about Rabbi Akiva. Shahaya Boichem Oid. That he would cry excessively when? Ba'amroi Shir Hashirim. When Rabbi Akiva would sit down and recite Shir Hashirim, he mamish would go to pieces emotionally. He would cry excessively. Why? Continues the Mishnah Berurah, on Tzabachem and Beis now. Sheyada heichad advarim magiyim. Because when he read Shir Hashirim, what is Shir Hashirim? Shir Hashirim is basically, I'm going to use the words, it's the words in English don't do it justice. It's a love song between Klal Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom. It talks about the tremendous ahava and the tremendous chukah, the tremendous desire that the Rebbeinu Shalom has for Klal Yisrael and that Klal Yisrael has for the Rebbeinu Shalom. When Rabbi Akiva would read Shir Hashirim, it would arouse in him such emotion that he would cry excessively. V'cheinu motzei b'mispalel b'kavana, says the Mishnah Berurah. You could find this nowadays also by Yerei Shamayim, who feel a tremendous connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that when they daven b'kavana, you'll see them davening Shemona Esrei, and you'll see them crying. What is that crying? That crying comes from a tremendous emotional connection between themselves and the Bari Olam. Aval stam livkais kidei sheyetze atzar miliboy. But stam, to sit down on Shabbos and have a good cry because you're upset about something and you want to get it off your chest? No, you're not allowed to do, says the Mishnah Berurah over here. And he brings this down again. He's bringing this down from the Taz. So the Taz says, you want to cry because the market went down, or even I'll make it less mundane than that. Somebody is going through a difficult period. Maybe he's somebody who's ill, or maybe he's suffering in Tsar Gidul Banim or Banois, and he has things on his mind, and he wants to have a good cry because he's carrying around this upsetness. No, that's not appropriate for Shabbos. What could be appropriate for Shabbos is somebody who's crying out of dveikus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aval, however, having said that, says the Chavetz Chaim, Bel Yerabah v'Tosefes Shabbos tiru. The El Yerabah, the Tosefes Shabbos, they go against this Taz, and they are matir, somebody who needs to get it off his chest, even if it's a less spiritual type of suffering. Somebody needs to get the angst off of himself, and a good cry will do it on Shabbos, and that will be an einik for him. He'll feel a lot better afterwards. That is mutter, says the El Yerabah, the Tosefes Shabbos, Kevin Shayidei B'chiyasa Yirvach, since through the crying, he will feel more expansive and he'll feel better. So that is mutter on Shabbos. To me, a Mishnah Berurah like this, this is what Gedolim do. What do I mean? A Gadol B'Yisrael has his feet on the ground, and he looks at Klal Yisrael, and he looks at the needs of Klal Yisrael, and he looks at how the broad spectrum of Klal Yisrael, how they comport themselves, and they look at halacha. I'm going to be very careful what I say over here. Chas v'chalila, they don't bend halacha to meet the people. Chas v'shalom, you can't do that. But they are matzdik the people. The Chavetz Chaim looked, and the Chavetz Chaim says, there are people who go through hard times, and there are people who could come into Shabbos, and like I said, they're suffering over something that they're going through in life. Like I said, maybe they're suffering through tsar gidul banim ubanos, through chinuch issues. Maybe they're suffering, even it could be a shalom bayis issue. They're suffering over somebody who's not well. They're suffering, and they're carrying it around on Shabbos, and it's trapped up inside them, and it's driving them crazy. And if they go and they sit down and they cry for 5 minutes, they're going to feel much better. So the Mishnah Berurah tells you that really the Taz says that that's inappropriate. Really, the Taz says that when the Mechaber allows crying on Shabbos, it means crying over a real Dvar Ruchni. But you should know, there's an El Yerabah and a Tosefes Shabbos. We're not bending halacha here. This is an El Yerabah that we're quoting. It's a Tosefes Shabbos that we're quoting. We're not making up new things to meet the needs of the people, so to speak. No, we're going like an El Yerabah and a Tosefes Shabbos. So Zolstuvisin, there is an El Yerabah, there is a Tosefes Shabbos that is matir. So if somebody is stuck in a situation like that, and he needs to put down his head and cry for 5 minutes, okay, no. Falosach on the El Yerabah and the Tosefes Shabbos. Now turning the page to Samachay and Bey's top line in the Mechaber Sif Gimel. The Mechaber has over here an interesting case. Adam hamis'aneh b'chol yoim. You have a real Yirei Shamayim who fasts every day. I'm not talking about what's very hot nowadays, intermittent fasting, because they decided that it's healthy or because it's they want to lose weight. We're talking over here about Adam hamis'aneh b'chol yoim, a person who fasts out of Yirei Shamayim. Maybe he's fasting over the Churban Bayis, or he's fasting for tshuva. But Adam hamis'aneh b'chol yoim, this person fasts every day during the week. And therefore, now, of course, you can't go a whole week without eating, period. He doesn't eat during the day. He eats in the evenings. He eats at night. Now, to eat on Shabbos is difficult for him because the Ramah interjects over here. What does it mean, shinoi vest? Pirush davar kavua. He's changing his habits. He's changing the way he always acts. Bekavua, he never eats during the day. For him to go now once a week on Shabbos and eat during the day on Shabbos is difficult for his system. It doesn't work well for him, and it makes him uncomfortable. Yesh Oimrim, there are those that say, says the Mechaber, Shero Kama Chasidim V'Anshe Maisa, that we've seen over the Doros, over the generations, many Chasidim, many extremely pious people. This doesn't mean Chasidim as in Streimel and Payas. It means Chasidim, meaning the word chassid means somebody who always acts lifnim b'shur sadin, somebody who fulfills beyond the letter of the law. It means a real pious individual, a real Yirei Shamayim. Sharo kama chasidim, they've seen many chasidim, va'anshe maisa, and people who do mitzvahs and maisim tovim, shehis'anu b'Shabbos bitam zeh, who fasted on Shabbos for this reason. In other words, we have a lot of people who take a fast all week, and because they fast all week, it's very difficult for them to eat on Shabbos. It causes discomfort for them to eat on Shabbos. So they fast on Shabbos for this reason. V'chein amru, and similarly they say, Shakacha yo'isa harav Rabbi Yehuda Chassid zechrein l'vracha. The Mechaber brings down that they say about Rabbi Yehuda Chassid that this is what Rabbi Yehuda Chassid did. He fasted all week, and he fasted on Shabbos too. Why? Because to eat on Shabbos was physically uncomfortable for him because he's changing what he habitually does all the rest of the week. Okay, so now, a lot of words over here, but let's just very briefly and succinctly, what is the halacha that the Mechaber just said? The Mechaber said, you have an interesting individual. He's a chassid, he's a Yirei Shamayim, he's an Adam Gadol. He fasts all week. Because he fasts all week, it is difficult for him to eat on Shabbos because he's breaking his habit. I don't mean psychologically because he's breaking his habit. Physically, his system is not used to it. His system is not accustomed to eating during the day. So therefore, when he goes to eat during the day, it is physically uncomfortable for him. Says the Mechaber, note, he doesn't use the word mutter, he doesn't use the word nachain, it's proper. He says that yesh oimrim, there are those that say that throughout the generations, we've seen big people who, because of this, they don't eat on Shabbos. Since they fast all week long, they don't eat on Shabbos. And they say that Rabbi Yehuda Chassid did the same thing. Now, what exactly is the difference between this halacha of Sif Gimel and the halacha of the previous Sif Beis? In Sif Beis, we learned, Od yesh oimrim, she'adam shemazik loy ha'achila, somebody who will be harmed by eating, so then oz oinig hu shaloi lechel. So for him, not eating equals oinig. Eating harms him, not eating is oinig. So the Mechaber says such a person shouldn't eat. So lo yoichal, he should not eat. That was the halach of Siv Beis. The halach of Siv Gimel is, if eating is going to be uncomfortable for you because you're used to fasting all week, so there are those that say that we've seen many Gedolim who taka didn't eat on Shabbos for that reason. I think what you have to say is, and I believe this is what the Aruch HaShulchan means when the Aruch HaShulchan quotes this halacha, is that Siv Beis is talking about somebody who it's going to be mazikloi. It's going to physically harm him if he eats. Somebody has a gastrointestinal condition and he needs to keep his stomach empty for whatever reason. Maybe he has ulcers. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a gastro. But whatever it is, for this person of Siv Beis, eating will harm him. So in that case, says the Mechaber, if eating is going to harm you, eating is certainly not Oinik Shabbos. For you, not eating is Oinik Shabbos. So don't eat. That's the halach of Siv Beis. Siv Gimel is not talking about somebody whom eating is going to harm. It's uncomfortable. It's not what your system is accustomed to. Maybe after eating, you'll feel a little bit bloated. That's not mazikloi. I don't think you would call that a person that it's a mazikloi when he eats. That's a person who his system is not accustomed to it. He's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. The chiddush of Siv Gimel is that here in Siv Gimel, the Mechaber is telling you that person also can not eat on Shabbos, like we've seen by many Gedolim throughout the Dirshu, like we saw by Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. So that's one chiddush that Siv Gimel has over Siv Beis. Siv Beis is talking about somebody who eating is going to harm him. Siv Gimel is talking about somebody who eating is not going to harm him, it's just going to make him a little uncomfortable. That person also could not eat on Shabbos. That's one way to understand it. Another way to understand it possibly is that in Siv Beis, we're not talking about a condition that a person brought onto himself. A person has some kind of an ailment, and the doctors told him don't eat. And if he eats, he suffers. If he eats, he gets pain. If he eats, it harms him. It makes his condition worse. So okay, says the Mechaber. No, what are you going to do? You have a problem. You can't eat, so don't eat. In Siv Gimel, we're talking about a condition that a person brought onto himself. Because you chose to fast all week, now you have a problem eating on Shabbos. So Mehechatesa, you should fast all week. Now you're doing it for a good reason. You're a Shemayim, you're a Chassid, you're being Isaac and Tshuva, whatever it is. So you're doing it for maybe a very upstanding reason. But you're causing a problem. You're causing now that you're not able to eat on Shabbos. But Oinik Shabbos demands that you do eat on Shabbos. So there would be a very good cheshbon to say over here, hey, mister, don't be as tzaddik. Don't go ahead and fast all week so that you can't eat on Shabbos. You got to eat on Shabbos. So maybe fast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Start eating Thursday and Friday so that by Shabbos you can eat properly. You can eat a Suda Shabbos and you don't have a problem. The counterbalance to that is that we do have a rule that when somebody has a mitzvah that's available to him to do right now, you don't say, I'm not going to do this mitzvah now because if I do this mitzvah now, it's going to impinge my ability to do another mitzvah later. No, mitzvah abala yadcha, you have a mitzvah that's coming to your hands now, go be mekayim that mitzvah now. What will be later will be later. So maybe you would look at it, you would say, well, the guy is fasting for good reasons all week long, he's not mechuyev to worry about what's going to be on Shabbos. The counter argument to that would be, who says it's a mitzvah? You know, the word mitzvah is something that's used in a lot of different ways. People say something is a mitzvah. Well, which one of the Taryag mitzvahs is it? We have 613 mitzvahs. Which one of the 613 mitzvahs is it? Take out the Sefer HaChinuch. Which one of the 613 mitzvahs is it to fast all week? You're not going to find one. Okay, you might be able to shoehorn it in. Maybe you'll want to shoehorn it into the mitzvah of tshuva. Tshuva is a mitzvah. So you want to shoehorn into the mitzvah of tshuva. This person is fasting in order to do tshuva. So maybe this is part and parcel of the mitzvah of tshuva. Maybe. I'm just trying to show that there are a lot of variables over here that go in to this decision of Sif Gimel. And that's why in Sif Gimel, the Mechaber, the way the Mechaber approaches Sif Gimel, is he doesn't say it's mutter. He says, look, there's azar cheshbon. Sometimes people fast all week for good reasons, and because of that, it becomes uncomfortable to eat on Shabbos. No, we've seen a lot of Anshe Maisa. We've seen a lot of Hasidim. Even Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, who Taka didn't eat on Shabbos for that reason. Okay, let's take a look here. There's only one short Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is cut in hay. Says the Chavetz Chaim, va'achila aval, kishe'ein lo tzar. If you're not going to suffer from the eating, av shemesala alavoino yisumach mas tshuva aser. If the achila is not going to cause you tsar, as we're talking here about in Sif Gimel, somebody who if he eats on Shabbos, it's going to be uncomfortable for him. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what if it's not uncomfortable at all? So now this person, he fasts all week, and now he wants to fast on Shabbos also. And his reasoning is, I'm not causing myself tsar. I know tsar is inappropriate to Shabbos. I'm not allowed to do anything on Shabbos that's going to cause me tsar. But fasting is not going to cause me tsar. I'm used to fasting. I fast all week long. So if I fast all week long and it doesn't cause me tsar, can I fast on Shabbos also? Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. The heter of Sif Gimel is, if eating on Shabbos is going to cause you tsar, so then you're allowed to not eat on Shabbos. But if it's not going to cause you tsar, of course you have to eat on Shabbos. You have a mitzvah of Einik Shabbos. And not only that, this is what I mentioned at the beginning of this year. Remember, to fast on Shabbos l'shem tainus, to refrain from eating on Shabbos so that it should be considered a tainus, that you're not allowed to do even for an hour. So, no, even if it's not causing you tsar, you're not allowed to fast on Shabbos. Okay. Now, moving along to Sif Dalet. Excuse me. Excuse me. 3 lines off the top, says the Mechaber Sif Dalet. Mutter lihis anois by tainus chaloim. You're allowed to fast a tainus chaloim. What's a tainus chaloim? I think in the Art Scroll Siddur they have very fancy words for it. I think it's called fasting for the amelioration of a dream. It's a person had a bad dream, and we'll see maybe in tomorrow's share what exactly is meant by a bad dream. But a person had, so to speak, a bad dream. I don't know why I'm getting hung up. But yeah, amelioration of a dream. Hatavas chaloim. So a person had a bad dream, and that bad dream has him agitated. He's afraid that that bad dream portends, it's a message from Shamayim, that chas v'chalila, there's a bad gzar din on him. It might be a portent from Shamayim that they passed a bad decree against him. And now he wants to fast in order to undo that decree. How's fasting going to do that? Tshuva. He wants to fast, and he wants to do tshuva. Sheyikra roya gzar dinoi. His bad gzar din should be torn up in Shamayim. Now, this is not just heebie-jeebie stuff. This is based on a Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara in Tainus talks about a Tainus chaloim. And the Gemara tells us that there are certain fasts, certain dreams, that a person should fast in order to annul a bad decree that may have been passed on him in Shamayim. So now, what we're talking about over here is, somebody had such a dream Friday night. Now, it's brought down that if you want to do a Tainus chaloim, if you want to use a fast, a tainus, in order to annul such a decree, you really have to do that tainus the day after you had the dream. Now, this person had the dream Friday night. Tainus chaloim would require him to fast on Shabbos. Fasting on Shabbos, we saw you're not allowed to do. So that's the quandary that we're in here. Says the Mechaber, Sif Dalet. Motor lehisanos by tainus chaloim. You're allowed to fast the tainus chaloim on Shabbos, kedei sheyikara gzar dinoi, so that a bad gzera that chas v'chalila was passed against the person should be annulled. However, says the Mechaber, if you do so, if you fast on Shabbos, v'tzarich lehis anes b'yom rishon, then you're going to have to go fast on Sunday, kedei sheyiskaper loy masha bitel oynik Shabbos, in order to gain kapara, in order to gain forgiveness for the fact that you fasted on Shabbos and you were Mavatal Einik Shabbos. So you hear what's happening? The person had a bad dream Friday night. We're going to allow him to fast on Shabbos because he needs to fast on Shabbos in order to annul the bad Gzar Din represented by the dream. But by fasting on Shabbos, he's being Mavatal Einik Shabbos. He needs kapara for being Mavatal Einik Shabbos. How is he going to get that? By fasting on Sunday. So he's going to eat Motzei Shabbos, but then he's going to fast Sunday during the day. Continues the Mechaber. What if he's not a particularly strong fellow? He's got a weak constitution, and he's too weak to fast 2 days in a row. So then, lo yasana b'yom rishon. So then the second fast, to get the kapara for being Mavatal Einik Shabbos, should not take place on Sunday. V'yasana achakach. He should fast another day. But the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, but it should be as soon as possible. So maybe he should fast on Monday. Let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. It says the Mishnah Berurah is cut and vav. Mutar lihis anos. So you're allowed to fast on Shabbos in order to annul an evil decree that was represented by a bad dream on Friday night. Now again, we're going to go more into this topic of Tainas Chaloim in tomorrow's shir. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, let's say somebody goes to shul, and his friend comes over to him and says, "Oi, I was hoping I was going to see you in shul. I had a horrible dream last night about you. I had a dream that something geferlach, something terrible, was going to happen to you." So he tells him Shabbos morning. Says the Mishnah Berurah, lo yisane. The Mishnah Berurah says that the subject of the dream should not fast. Avalim irikain b'choil, but if this happens during the week, yisane. Then the subject of the dream should fast. And he brings this down from the Knesset Gdolim Adur Basra Magen Avram El Yerabah Ayin Sham. So again, what's the Mishnah Berurah bringing down here? We're talking here in the Mechaber about a Tanas Chaloim. Ruvain had a dream. Ruvain had a dream that something terrible was going to happen to him. He had the dream Friday night. So we're talking about him making a Tanas Chaloim Shabbos by day in order to annul any bad decree that might have been represented by that dream. Now the Mishnah Berurah is talking about a different case. Ruvain comes to shul Shabbos morning. Shimon comes to Ruvain. Shimon tells Ruvain, I had a dream. But my dream was that something terrible was going to happen to you. So should Ruvain fast? Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. Ruvain, if this happens on Shabbos, Ruvain should not fast, a Tainas Chaloim. But if it happens during the week, he should fast, a Tainas Chaloim. Why? Because in this case, we're not sure if the subject of the dream really has to fast. There is a reason to say that he does have to fast. Why? It could be that in Shemayim, they decided that there's a bad decree on Ruvain, but Ruvain is not worthy of getting the message directly. So instead of Ruvain having the bad dream, they gave the bad dream, I don't like to use this word they, it's Min Shemayim. The bad dream was given to Shimon instead of to Ruvain. And it was a message to Ruvain, but the message was sent through Shimon instead of going directly to Ruvain. In that case, Ruvain really should fast in order to annul the decree, because he's getting the message, just he didn't get it directly, he got it from Shimon. Or we could say that maybe no, this is not a message to Ruvain at all. Maybe this message is really a message to Shimon. Why is Shimon getting a dream that something terrible is going to happen to Ruvain? If it's a dream that something terrible is going to happen to him, he should have gotten a dream that it's going to happen to himself. Why is he getting a dream that should happen to Ruvain? Because dreams are not always 100% accurate. And we know the Gemara tells us, Ein chaloim b'loi dvarim b'telim. Every dream has some dvarim b'telim, some falsehood to it. So maybe the dream was really a message to Shimon. The dream was that something terrible was going to happen to Ruvain. No, that was the dvarim b'telim. Really, it's going to happen to Shimon. So maybe Shimon needs to fast a Tainas Chaloim. So because of this suffix, because of this doubt, what we say is, you know what? It happened on a Monday, Ruvain should take a fast. But if it happened on Shabbos, Ruvain should not fast and be mavatal Einik Shabbos. So that's what we see here so far. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, Vayel el b'siman reish chaf. Take a look later on in Siman reish chaf, but Magen Avram Sif Cotton Base. When somebody has a bad dream about his friend, like in our case, Shimon has a dream that something bad is going to happen to Ruvain, Yisane, Shimon should fast. Ve'aviu gam kein El Yerabah, and the El Yerabah brings that down as well. Ayin Sham. Umashma, from here we have an indication, Sha'acholim ba'atzma Yisane kevin shubachol. What do we see from here? From here we see, again, Shimon had the dream about Ruvain, but here we're telling Shimon to fast. Now that's not what we saw in the Knesset Hagdolah earlier in the Mishnah Berurah. In the Knesset Hagdolah earlier in the Mishnah Berurah, we spoke about the possibility Shimon had a bad dream about Ruvain. Should Ruvain fast or not? So Ruvain's the subject of the bad dream. So he said, if it's Shabbos, he shouldn't fast. If it's Monday, he should fast. In the Magen Avraham, we see the idea that when Shimon has a bad dream about Ruvain, the Choleim, Shimon, the one who had the dream, should fast. V'ulai, says the Mishnah Berurah, could be this discrepancy is because the Sham Mayri she'ena right roitzel l'saper loy l'tzaroi. Mishnah Berurah throws out an interesting idea. Mishnah Berurah says maybe the reason the Magen Avraham talks about the dreamer fasting, Shimon fasting instead of Ruvain, is because Shimon doesn't want to go to Ruvain and tell Ruvain, I mamish had a dream that something terrible was going to happen to you. Why? Because he's going to be mitzar Ruvain. He's going to cause Ruvain tsar. Like I remember hearing from the Reshiva, Reb David Feinstein, Zechet Tzadik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, one Yid should never be the cause of another Yid's tsar. So Shimon doesn't want to go to Ruvain and be mitzar Ruvain and tell Ruvain, I had a terrible dream about you. Yeah, but somebody has to fast in order to ameliorate the dream. So Shimon takes it upon himself. I'm going to fast. My fasting should be a schus to ameliorate the dream that the Gzar Din on Ruvain should be torn up. Sounds like from here that would work, potentially. Okay. Boy, this is taking a lot longer than I thought. Moving on to Tais Katan Zayin. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Tainis Chaloim. We're talking here about a Tainis Chaloim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, remember, fasting is not an end unto itself. There's no magic in refraining from eating. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'gam yavala kol hayoyim b'torah u'b'tefillah v'yiskaper lo. If somebody has the need to do a Tainis Chaloim to annul an evil decree, he should not only refrain from eating, he should refrain from eating, and he should spend the entire day immersed in Torah and Tefillah and Tshuva. In the Sefer Seder Hayoim, it actually says that he should go into a quiet room where he's alone, and he should concentrate on Torah and Tefillah and Tshuva, and he should stay away from other people who are having a good time, etc., etc. So this person is not just fasting, he's immersing himself in Torah, Tshuva, Ma'asim Tovim, and Tefillah. Ubeseder Hayom Kasav, the Sefer Seder Hayom also writes, to Yuchal Hisvades Al Avinoisav, he could say Vidui, he could confess his Averis, Kishem Isana while he's fasting, K'moy B'chayil, the same way somebody who's doing Tshuva and is fasting would do during the week. V'ayil El B'Siman Reish Chaf B'Mishnah Berurah, to Barois Umenikois, expectant women and nursing women, Ein Laharis Lahen L'Hisanes Afilu B'chayil. They shouldn't fast for a Tainis Chaloim even during the week. Ella rather Yitnu Pidya Nafsham L'Tztaka, they should give money to tztaka. We know that the things that tear up an evil decree, Tshuva, Tefillah, Tztaka, Mavir and Israya Hagizera. Tshuva, Tefillah, and Tztaka annul evil decrees. So an expectant woman, a nursing woman, should give Tztaka and annul the decree that way. Ubefrat, Imein Chalusha, certainly if they have weak constitution, Bevade Ein Lehen Lahachmer Alatzman, they should not be machmer to fast a Tainis Chaloim. Kasav Ataz, the Taz writes, Imihir Bayoim, if somebody thinks about something terrible during the day, the cholam loy balayla me inyan hahirher, and then at night he has a dream, a terrible dream, but it has to do with something he thought about during the day, ein loy lehisanis b'Shabbos, then he certainly should not fast a tainis chaloim on Shabbos to hahirher garam zeh, because this dream was not a message min hashamayim. This is a dream. He was thinking about car accidents during the day. So then he had a dream Friday night that Chas Chalil got into a terrible car accident. It's not a message from Shamayim. He was thinking about car accidents, so he had a terrible dream about car accidents. V'loy heruhu min hashamayim. This is not a message from Shamayim. The Mishnah Berurah is ches. The Mechaber said, if you're going to fast a Tainis Chaloim on Shabbos, then you're going to have to fast on Sunday to get forgiveness for being Mevatel Einik Shabbos on Shabbos. B'yom Rishon points out the Mishnah Berurah, there are times that you cannot fast on Sunday. Let's say Sunday is a day that you have to fast anyway. Okay, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is a tiny tzibur. Everybody has to fast on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. So somebody had a bad dream Friday night. He fasted a tainis chaloim on Shabbos. Now he needs to fast to get kapara for fasting on Shabbos. Sunday is Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. So he says, I'm on easy street. I was going to fast Sunday anyway. No, says the Mishnah Berurah. The Chadaima, afilu tainis yachid shenag by chayva. Even a personal fast. We learned earlier, there are some people who have the minig that they fast the first day of Slichus before Rosh Hashanah. They fast. So let's say the first day of Slichus is always a Sunday, right? You always start Slichus Motzei Shabbos. So the first day of Slichus is Sunday. Somebody fasted a Tainis Chaloim on Shabbos. Now he says, I don't need an extra fast. I was going to fast tomorrow anyway because it's the first day of Slichus. No, says the Mishnah Berurah, Einei Oiloloi. That doesn't count. We're not going to let you get off easy. You're not doing an extra fast in order to get kapara for being mevatel Einik Shabbos. No, you were going to fast anyway, so it doesn't count. You would have fasted that day whether you fasted on Shabbos or not. Nope, sorry, Charlie. You're going to have to fast another day. However, there are others who disagree with this. With Svir Lahu, they hold. Even an obligatory fast like Shiva Asar B'Tammuz would count for such a thing. Well, while you're fasting on Sunday, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, you should have in mind that the fast should also serve as a kapara for fasting on Shabbos. Somebody who finds it difficult to fast, could definitely rely on these lenient opinions and allow that obligatory fast to stand for him as the fast that's going to get him kapara for fasting on Shabbos. Let's go to the Ramah. Says the Ramah, 3 lines up from the bottom. So the Mechaber just said now that if you fasted on Shabbos for a Tainis Chaloim, you need to fast on Sunday for being Mavatal Einik Shabbos. But if you're a weak person and you can't fast 2 days in a row, so then don't fast the second fast on Sunday, push it off to another day. Haggah, says the Ramah, V'cholshkedim haya b'yom rishain Chanukah or Rosh Chodesh or Purim or Yom Tov afilu Yom Tov sheni shel Goliath she'el hesadi sarachakach. Certainly, there are times that you're not allowed to fast on Sunday. What if Sunday is Rosh Chodesh? You're not allowed to fast on Rosh Chodesh. What if Sunday is one of the days of Chanukah? You're not allowed to fast on Chanukah. Purim, you're not allowed to fast on Purim. Yom Tov, you're not allowed to fast on Yom Tov. So says the Ramah, the Mechaber said, if you're weak and you can't fast 2 days in a row, push off the second fast to a different day. Says the Ramah, also, if Sunday is a day that you're not allowed to fast, you're also going to have to push off the fast for a second day. Says, for a different day. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Chanukah. One of the days that the Ramah mentioned is Chanukah. You're not allowed to fast on Chanukah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, this halacha that the Ramah is telling you is only negaya to the days that you're not allowed to fast. There are certain days that we don't fast on, but not because it's a halacha psuka that you're not allowed to fast on those days. There are some days that we don't fast only based on a minig. Kegoin, for example, Yomei de Nisan. Based on a minig, we don't fast during Nisan. Oy Sivan, based on a minig, we don't fast during Sivan. Oy Isru Chag, or the day after Yom Tov, called Isru Chag. The minig is we don't fast on Isru Chag. Oy Ben Yom Kippurim l'Sukkos, the days between Yom Kippur and Sukkos. The minig is we don't fast. But these are only minhagim. They're not strict prohibitions. If Sunday is one of those days, you could do the fast to get kapara for fasting on Shabbos. The Gam also, also, let's say you fasted for a Tainis Chaloim. One of the Shabbos, not Shabbos, you had a bad dream Monday night during Nisan. So now, on Tuesday, you want to fast the Tainis Chaloim. But the minig is that we don't fast during Nisan. So you might think, if I fast a Tainis Chaloim on a Tuesday during Nisan, when there's a minig not to fast, do I have to fast a second fast in order to get kapara for fasting on a day when there's a minig not to fast? Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. You don't have to fast another fast for that. Aval, however, Tainis Chaloim b'Rosh Chodesh. Let's say you fast a Tainis Chaloim on another day that it's also to fast other than Shabbos. We've been talking here about Shabbos. We said you had a bad dream Friday night, you fasted on Shabbos, you owe another tainus, because you have to do another tainus to get forgiveness for fasting on Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah, that's also true if you fast a tainus chalaim on another day that it's also to fast. So let's say Rosh Chodesh, like this month, Rosh Chodesh fell out on Sunday and Monday. You had a bad dream Sunday night, so you want to fast Monday at tainus chalaim. So you're going to fast on Rosh Chodesh at tainus chalaim, but you're not allowed to fast on Rosh Chodesh. So you're going to fast on Rosh Chodesh, tainus chalaim, and then you're going to owe another tainus to get forgiveness for fasting on Rosh Chodesh. So avalam esan the tainus chalaim Rosh Chodesh v'Chanukah uPurim v'Yom Tov Sheni shel Goliath v'Chol HaMoed tzarich l'meisav tainus l'tani yisai. Ois cotton yod oy Rosh Chodesh. Another day that you're not allowed to fast, said the Ramah, is Rosh Chodesh. Points out the Mishnah Berurah that there's an exception to that rule. V'dafka sha'ar Rosh Chodeshim. This applies to 3 Rosh Chodesh, really 10 Rosh Chodeshim during the year. Aval b'Rosh Chodesh Nisan, but on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, das Magen Avram the Yachal lehisanis by. The Magen Avram says you're allowed to fast on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Memneshu tainis tzadikim. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is one of the days that tzadikim used to fast. Why? Interesting reason. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the day that the Mishkan was first erected in the Midbar. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is also the day that Nadav and Avihu died. Nadav and Avihu died the day that the Mishkan was put up for the first time, when they brought Keteris to the Mishkan that they weren't commanded to bring. So since it's the day that Nadav and Avihu died, Tzaddik would fast on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Ayin Sim Tov Kov Pei. But the Taisa Shabbos Chaylik Alav, the Taisa Shabbos disagrees with this. The Akasav among Avram Sham L'Kamon, the Bisha Ein Ragel his sign is Tanis Tzaddik and the Erolei Ezet Tzara Chas V'Chalila Al Yis Anabai. He says that somebody who's not accustomed to fasting on such a day should not fast, and therefore it would be inappropriate to use even Rosh Chodesh Nisan as the day to use as the second fast for fasting on Shabbos. Ad achakach is cutting Yud Aleph. So the Ramah said, if Sunday is one of those days that you're not allowed to fast on, so you're going to have to push off your second fast, the fast that you're fasting to get kapara for fasting on Shabbos, you're going to have to push it off to another day. Ad achakach, says the Mishnah Berurah, v'tzarich b'chalzel lahaktim kol ma sheyachol. However, you should make up that second tainus ASAP. So in other words, you fasted on Shabbos because you had a bad dream Friday night. Now you're really supposed to fast on Sunday, but you can't fast on Sunday because Sunday is Hanukkah. Okay, so fast as soon as Hanukkah is over. Don't decide that you're going to push it off until Av. No, you got to do it ASAP. We're going to stop over here. We'll continue with the rest of the Ramah next time. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The source of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom should send Yeshua's Refuah's Parnas and Shidduchim to all those in need. We should be zeichet to see the Bias Gael Tzedek b'mehera v'yameinu. Amen. Be well.